All right, for form, let's write out that definition first. A 3D, and that's important, form is three-dimensional. And if you can't remember, what's the opposite of form? Shape is the opposite of form. Shape is two-dimensional. And if you don't have that written on your paper, I would write it in bold, super intense. Think we talked about squares and circles and triangles and rectangles, and then we talked about organic shapes, right? They're all flat. They're all two-dimensional. Whereas forms are three-dimensional. So sorry, back to that definition. A 3D artwork, comma, or artwork that appears 3D. A 3D artwork or artwork that appears 3D that shows depth, height, and width. So a 3D artwork or artwork that appears 3D that shows depth, height, and width. All right, so once you have that written out, let's get to those drawings. We are first going to start off with a cube. Maybe you already know how to draw a cube. If you don't, follow along. I'm going to start with a square. And then I'm going to draw another square overlapping, but kind of like to the right and down a little bit. So notice how they're overlapping there. And then I'm going to connect the diagonal corners with lines. And bam, you have yourself a cube. While we're at it, we might as well draw a rectangular prism, which is very similar to a cube. So I'm going to start off with a long, skinny rectangle. And then I'm going to draw another one, same thing, down a little bit and over to the right. You can make yours over to the left or up and over, but for some reason, I always go down like that. And then I'm going to connect the opposite diagonal corners. And there's our rectangular prism. All right, so hopefully you're thinking of some other forms. I think we're also going to draw a pyramid. So a pyramid, watch this, you can only see two sides of the pyramid at any one time. Most students draw this a little incorrectly. So I'm going to start with a triangle. And from this triangle, one of the bottom corners, I'm going to draw a line that goes upwards diagonal. From here, I'm going to connect the point and the end of that line. I'll draw one facing the other way in case you missed that. So I'm going to draw a triangle. And from this corner, I'm going to draw an upwards, slightly diagonal line. And then from there, I'm going to connect the top point of the pyramid down with the bottom of that line. So you can see, when you look at a pyramid, you do not see more than two sides at one time. A lot of students try to add a third side over here, but you would not physically be able to see that at any point. You'd only be able to see two sides. All right, so let's draw some forms where we're having to use our shading, AKA our value that we just talked about in our last section up above. So let's draw a sphere. So this is going to start off as just a circle, and then I want you to pick a side where your light source is going to be coming from. So for me, I'm going to pick over here, and I'm even going to draw a little sun. So that means that this side right here is going to be the lightest, so there's not going to be any shading. The shadow is going to be on the opposite side. And when you are shading something that is curved like a sphere, you want to curve your shading. This is very important. If you make it straight, you are flattening out that object. So try curving it like I am here. And you can even add a little shadow on the ground next to it, which would really just appear like an oval, like that. All right, next I'm gonna draw a cone shape. So a cone is going to be, the top part's gonna look like a triangle, but the bottom part is going to be rounded. Now, if you think of like an ice cream cone, if you're looking from that ice cream cone from the end, if you're looking at the open part of it, it would look like a circle, right? A circle from the side is gonna look like an oval. So if we had x-ray vision, we would be able to see that whole oval right there. You can see I kind of drew the other side of it. We don't have x-ray vision, unfortunately. That would be really cool. So I'm gonna erase the rest of that, and notice how the bottom of this is just slightly curved, okay? So that's our cone shape. And then I'm gonna pretend that the sun is coming from the same side over here, and I am going to add value or shading over here. And I am also curving my lines again because I want this to look like a curved cone. And I can also add a shadow next to it, like so. It's hard for me to tell if I'm going too fast because you guys aren't here with me in the classroom right now, but that's okay. Take your time. Maybe you don't get all of these. I am going to draw one more, and that is going to be a cylinder or a can shape. And so the same thing with like that we talked about, that oval and the cone. The top part of a can, the bottom part of a can, they are circles. A circle from the side appears as an oval. So watch how I'm going to draw this cylinder. The top part is an oval. And then from there, I'm going to bring straight lines down from either side. The bottom part would also be an oval, but we don't have x-ray vision, so we can only see the bottom curve right here. And it's just a very slight curve. And if I could see the whole thing, it would go in like that. But since we don't have x-ray vision, I'm gonna erase that. And I'm gonna now add my shadow. So sun's over here, so light source, there it is. We're gonna add our shadow on the opposite side. So I'm gonna use slightly curved shading marks to make my can look 3D, to make it look curved. If you use straight lines, you're just flattening it out. You're creating the opposite effect of what you're trying to go for. And then same thing as we've been doing, you can add a little shadow on the ground and shade that in as well. And there are some awesome examples of forms. Now remember, it's a 3D artwork or an artwork which appears 3D. So these ones just all appear 3D. They're not actually 3D, right? So if you look around the room and you see actual three-dimensional objects, those are forms, right? That are really three-dimensional. All right, guys, now it is time to study for your quiz. So take some time. You can fold back the one corner of your paper, or the one edge of your paper, and you can quiz each other on all of the different terms. You need to know the definitions.